Hello guys, we're here in my underwater room. All that I've done, I believe, since the last time I've recorded was add these loaders in. The way you make these are called spot loaders. A spot loader, and what it does is loads one single chunk. So you can't open an interface, you can't right click it or anything, it just loads a chunk. The reason there's four here is because we're right on the, if I bring up this thing to show the chunks, you can see I'm right at the intersection of four chunks, and these chunks all need to be loaded. That one for the barrels, this one for this stuff, and the other two for my farms. Actually the other two I probably don't really even need now. The extra wood from that farm over there and the rubber, using the rubber trees that's up on the beach. I will need that area though for the wheat unless I want to move it, which I could do. It's not a big deal, I don't think. But today I want to do something kind of different. I had an idea for a cool turtle script. Let me get this off. So I was kind of talking about wanting to make an underwater, like a big underwater base. Well, I want a turtle program to kind of help me build underwater. Precisely, with not just using squares that I've been doing so far. So I've had a couple ideas. You know how I talked about wanting to deepen the ocean? This is where the idea came from. So, anyways, today what I'm going to be doing is it's all going to be me programming something and doing debugging on the video, which normally I just do on my own. So this idea I had before, you know how I said I want to deepen the ocean, so I want to just like I want to put a turtle in there, and it'll see the bottom depth level, like this layer right here, and it'll just shrink this down, so it'll make this layer deeper by like 10 or 20 or something like that. So it'll kind of like maintain the form of the ocean, the landform, but so it won't look like too artificial, but it'll be a deeper ocean. I mean, even though the angles would be weird because it kind of like gets shallow, but then it'll be like vertical. But that was the idea. So, I was thinking, trying to figure out some code you can stick the turtle down in this layer, like facing, like you can stick it right here, and it'll read the boundary of this whole layer, and then it'll dig it out. So that was one idea, but now I'm kind of building on that idea. Like, do I want to do that, or do I want to do something like I stick a bunch of cobblestone down? Maybe like, let me go up on the surface because I can show you on this on the surface. So instead of it detecting a lower level, what if I wanted to build shaped rooms that didn't have that? So like, you didn't have a deepest level. Well, I was thinking, well, then if I wanted to, I could just use the same program and kind of make like a frame out of cobblestone, and that'll fix that. So then like you can stick the turtle in there, and it'll dig this out. But then I was thinking, well, what if what do I want to do that? Because I had this other idea now. Once I started putting the cobblestone down, I'm like, well, what if I just drew the cobblestone outline on the floor, and the turtle would move over it and detect where the cobblestone was? Because I think that would be pretty easy to code. So I haven't done any coding yet, but I have a few different ideas, and I think I'm going to go with the cobblestone on the ground one. So that would be, what it would do is it would have an ender chest in its inventory to drop the items that it digs up. It would have a piece of cobblestone in the next slot so it knows what cobblestone is. So once it sees cobblestone on the ground, it'll know that this is a spot that you need to dig. The reason I'm choosing cobblestone is because it doesn't really occur naturally as often as some other stuff that I would have lots of. I mean, cobblestone, you have tons of it, so I can easily make big outlines of rooms, and then at the same time I kind of know that it's not going to run into any other cobblestone that's going to be interfering with my design. So what I would be doing is drawing a big cobblestone pattern on the ocean floor, and then my turtle would go and kind of scan the pattern, and then it would dig out the design that I drew for it. Then I could use cobblestone to kind of line this lower layer that I want to dig deeper, and I think that's what I will do. So I'm gonna start getting some basic code going, and then I'll bring the video back once I want to do some simple debugging, and I'll tell you what I've done. So I got the first code about ready to run. Let's see what it does. Shaped excavate. Oh man, I got an error. Of course, forgot the do. While do. Okay, let's try that. Okay, seems to be going well. Okay, guys. Yeah, I was trolling you guys. That was I just made a dancing program, but I actually wrote some real code now. So let me go ahead and get the paste bin. Paste bin get blah 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 blah. Shaped excavate. So what this should do, actually the idea I worked with is that if it detects, I think the best way to test this is underwater. I'll go down there. If it detects a wall, it'll turn. So it doesn't read the cobblestone, it just reads the form of the land. So you can use any block. It doesn't need to be cobblestone beneath it. It'll just work its way around walls, kind of like a bug using its antennas to feel the surroundings. So let me test this. I'm gonna give it a couple obstacles to see how it works. It might not even run. It might be an error. So what should happen here? It should. I'm gonna start it running along this wall. What should happen is it should. Right now I just have it digging down one block, but in the end I'll have it digging down like 20 blocks whenever it finds a spot to dig. But for now it should just dig one block, and then it'll move and dig another block, and it'll detect. Oops, my fingers are on the wrong spot. So, all right. So it'll move up here, and then it'll detect that since it's trying to stay along, it's going to try to keep the wall to its left side, so it can cover every inch of the, well, every meter, because the block is a meter long. It's trying to cover every block of the perimeter. So it's going to try to keep the wall to its left side. So once it hits this point, it's going to try to turn to the right and follow this wall. And once it detects that there's air to its left, it's going to try to turn left and follow the wall along. So let's just see if it works. I'm hoping that it just follows this little wall I built along, and it'll dig one block beneath itself every time. This better work. If this works, this is awesome. Alright. Looking good. Now can I handle the other turns? Oh yeah. Okay. I am pretty proud of myself for this. Let's just see if it actually goes down the hallway. Yeah, so every time it moves, it's going to check to its left side. And it has to actually look that way because it can't detect from its side. So it's going to look to the side, say, oh, still the wall there, so just keep going straight. And now over here it's going to see wall, then it's going to see another wall, so it's going to turn right and go. Perfect. And what's going to happen is it'll reach a closed loop. So what you're going to get is it'll come around and there'll be air beneath it. So it's programmed to stop when it reaches air. So let me just see if I manually give it an air block to find. Let's see if it actually stops when it hits the air. Alright, so it stopped. Well, first try, it worked. Very nice. Let me replace my marble. Whoops. So now that's only the first part of it. That's the code for detecting and reading the boundary of the excavation. So that isn't going to actually dig out the whole thing. This will dig the proper height all the way down to whatever number you give it. The usage of this program, I want to say, you would say shaped excavate, and then you would give it a number, for example 20. And what that number would be used for is every time it digs down, instead of just digging down and being done, it'll dig down 20 blocks or whatever number you say. And then it'll come back up to the starting height and it'll continue. So 20 is the depth of the excavation. So now that we're going to have an isolated chunk of land surrounded by air, I'm going to write a second program, like the second phase of this program, that will detect, it should just go back and forth, like it'll finish this row, then it'll come back and do this row, and it'll just do it row by row, and then every time it hits air, it'll know to turn around or go to the next layer, you know? So that's the second part. That's totally different code. So, sorry squid, gonna have to kill you. So that's the next part of the code, and so I'm gonna try to, well, I'm gonna fix the floor real quick, and then I'll go write the next section, and hopefully that works also, and then I'll test it out. So shouldn't be too bad. Alright, be right back. Alright, so I started coding it, and it's kind of confusing because there's so many complicated shapes you might end up with. I'm going to draw some examples. Well, I wish I had more space to draw. What's over here? I should bring my turtle with me, actually. Like, you can have, I want it to be able to handle complex shapes. So digging the border around the room is not hard, because that's gonna, no matter how complex a shape it is, it doesn't change anything. But the code for actually digging out all the inner part, the way that I have planned out so far, it's pretty hard to code, but I might be able to come up with an easier way. What I already showed you was actually not my first idea, and it was like my third idea. And it's like a 20-line implementation, so that was pretty easy, and it works fine. I mean, it looks like it's foolproof. So now maybe I'll come up with something else, some other design. I just want to find somewhere that I can that's flat, that I can draw on. Uh-oh. Electric jetpack. Alright, hold on. Alright. I'm liking the look of that biome, but I think there's like a wasteland over here. Yep, there is. Alright, that's even better. So, I just need to draw some crazy shapes and figure out how exactly I want to try to handle this. After my turtle can dig out the border, and it has an isolated chunk of land, isolated from the rest of the land by 1 block thick of air, how am I gonna make sure to get all the land in the middle? So, for example, look at that. All right, so what if I had something crazy like this? A couple problems are that if I started the turtle, for example, here, like I started it building the wall and went around, or the border, I mean, comes back here. The next step so far from my plans is it would go into the next level, and then it would be kind of sitting like this. So then I was thinking, well, I just kind of got an idea. But I was thinking at first, I was like, well, first it would have to find the start of this row that it's on. So it would move over to here. Once it detects air, basically it would scoot backwards until it stops detecting air, and then it'll go forward, and then it knows it's on the first spot of this row. Then it will just dig down the specified distance, and then it'll just keep repeating that until it hits air on the other side. Then it'll go over to the next one and turn around and do the thing over again. But then eventually, like what happens if you were coming this way and it turns around and it can't find another layer because it's already on the air? Or what if you're like over here and you like get stuck in this section? Like, it's really confusing. This is really confusing. So Another solution I just had right now when I put my turtle down. What if it keeps digging the next border in? So now, now instead of digging row by row for the interior part, it's gonna dig this, then this, and then this, and then it'll just go to this. It would have to check if it's next to the air every time it moves. So first thing it would move to here, and then before it would dig, it would move out to the side, and then come back. And if this was air, then it knows that this is bordering the air, and then it will dig it down. Then it would move to the next spot. So then what would happen is when it reaches here, it would move to the left, move over here, check if there's air beneath it, and it would find that there's actually a block here. So then it would dig down there instead of returning to this spot. And then it would dig here just like it was before. I don't know. Let me okay, it's almost sunset, which means it's a good time for me to go AFK and program some stuff to test it out. So I'll just go ahead and make a little hidey hole like this, and I'll go write some code. 1 second. Alright, so we've jumped to 80 something lines of code now. Oh! No. Nice try. So I actually added the codes for it to handle ender chests, and it'll drop stuff when the inventory fills up, and now it'll actually support the input of a number. So you would say shaped excavate, and you'd give it like a 20, and it would dig that to that depth. So I'm gonna test it out with, well, first of all, let me just build another shape to test this out. And I'm gonna just give it depth of 2 to see how that works. Let me just make a slightly more complicated shape. Alright, this will do. Let's see if it can get past this bump in the wall there. It'll go like this. Ooh, that could be a problem, because it'll get to this point. Well, it'll get to this point and dig the hole, but the way it detects if it's already finished going around the whole thing is when it finds another spot that's already been dug. So once it hits this, it'll think it's already done. So maybe this would also be a problem. So I might just have to manually avoid those, but I'm just going to test that out to see if that's a problem. Alright, let me just close it off now. Alright. I'm going to test that out right now to see if that's a problem. And I don't have an ender chest on me, so normally it's going to give you an error if you don't put an ender chest in slot 1, but really it doesn't know the difference, so you just have to put something in slot 1. Oh, first of all, I need to download the new one. Delete. And paste bin. Alright. Ooh. Come on. So the only thing I'm wondering about is if this thing is going to stop it. And even if it does, I'm not going to really worry about it, because I can make sure that certain shapes aren't going to happen to this thing. Oops, I forgot to Alright, so it dug 2 blocks below the surface. Remember, this is just a temporary wall. So it's detecting if there's a wall there. This is like its handrail. So it knows where the wall is. And then once it's done, I'll be removing the wall. So then you'll just have a 2 block deep hole. Really hoping this works right here. Here it goes when it hits this spot. The only thing I think might happen is that it'll try to dig the spot twice because it'll first try to turn. Oh, yep, it's going to get stuck because it's going to hit air here and then it's going to think it's done. So let me just go ahead and manually terminate this once it reaches the top. There. Yeah, it's confused. It thinks it just reached the starting point now. It's going to say digging center, I think. Or not. Wait, what? I don't even know. But it's working. I don't know how. It's working though. Turns out this design I gave actually doesn't even need to have the center dug out of it because it's so small. So I'm going to try this again with a bigger shape. I'm actually amazed. And I'm going to be even more amazed if it actually stops when it hits this part. Because I don't know how it went over this error that was here. Because that's supposed to trigger when it's finished, when it finds air beneath it that it hasn't dug yet. I don't know, maybe it's self-aware, maybe it's just like, knows what it's doing. I don't know. I'm just going to be really kind of confused if it actually works here and stops. Well, it's going to try to say digging center. If it tries this, if it does that, I'm going to just be confused. Right here. Oops, sorry about that. If you heard that phone vibrate. Yeah, so that's something I need to fix. Alright, hold on. Be right back. 1 second. Okay, it took like 5 seconds to figure out what was wrong. I forgot to change the name of a variable, so I'm going to show you right now. I'm just going to edit this on my turtle without using pastebin so you can see. And then I'll try a different excavation. So, I had at first, before I added the center excavation code, when I was just excavating the border, I had a variable called done, and that controlled the while loop. So the code was repeating, so it would move and dig over and over again until the variable that I named done became true. So once it says it was done, then it would stop. You can see this while loop. At first it said while not done, do all this code, and then at the end of this while loop it has a condition where once it finds a spot with air beneath it, then done equals true. This right here, then done is set equal to true, and that would stop this code from executing over and over again, and that would move on to the next code. But up here, this variable that it's reading is border done, and I forgot to change the name of this one to border done. So done is a variable that I'm not actually using anymore. Now I need to change this to border done because I also have center done now, so that's why I changed it. So now once it reaches air, it's gonna set border done equal to true, which is gonna stop this code from executing. So if that was changed, now what would happen? It would have found this air. Remember when it dug in the spot and then it moved back over this air block? That would have triggered it to think that it was done digging the border, and then it would have tried to excavate the center, which would have gone totally wrong. Now I'm going to dig a more simple shape. 1 second. I didn't mean dig, I meant build a wall, but I did that. So the thing about this one that's different from the other one is that this actually has blocks that aren't going to be broken when it digs the border. So I wasn't thinking about that with the last one. So now it should, once it digs out the border, it'll still have a few blocks left over, so I can see if the code for digging out the center actually works. So I'm just going to say, I'm just going to give a level of depth of 1. Oops. Here's a chest. Go ahead. Shaped excavation of depth 1. I gave it those status messages. Digging border. So I kind of know what it's doing. Now once this reaches it should go all the way around the border. once it hits this air block, it'll detect that the border is complete, and then it'll say digging center, and then it'll move over to this block, dig it down, and then it's gonna keep moving along the border of that. So it's gonna keep digging out. Now this is gonna be a problem. I can tell already, these two blocks, it's gonna reach a dead end. It's gonna be a problem. But I'll let you see what's gonna happen. It's gonna, in order for it to detect where it's on the edge, so now it's gonna have to come out. Once it digs this block, it's gonna come over here, and then it's gonna float over this to see if there's air beneath it, and then since it's gonna see that there is air, then it's gonna come back and dig this. So now the problem is that this is gonna be, it's gonna trap it, because it's going to dig out and then it's going to find itself floating in the air and it's going to be lost and it's not going to know what to do. I'm not sure what it's going to actually do actually. So it's going to hit this and it's going to come over here and it's going to realize the border's done and it's going to say digging center. I hope. Digging center. So now it's digging the center. Moving over here to make sure it's still on the edge. It's figuring out where all the air is and where it needs to dig next. So now the only problem is that once it gets over here, it's going to be trapped and it's not going to know what to do. So, because it doesn't have any land to follow back. Like, you have to picture this guy is blind and he's using his little feelers like a bug to move. But he just broke everything. So now he just kind of stuck in an infinite loop, maybe. Maybe he'll, by chance, move over to the correct spot. I don't know. After enough repetitions of this code, maybe he'll actually find the land by chance, and then he'll continue. And that would be pretty cool. But it doesn't look like it's gonna... Oops, sorry about that. It doesn't look like it's gonna happen anytime soon. Looks like it's just gonna be repeating this pattern. So that means that whenever it reaches a concave area like this, it might cause problems when it's trying to excavate the center. If it ends up with a 1 block wide piece of land that it needs to dig. Yeah, it doesn't know what to do. It's lost. I might be able to simulate what it would do next time. I mean, correctly, it would. So, like, pretend I just set it up and it was digging the border around. So I can kind of finish the excavation by doing the same thing. So it's going to move. Oops. It's going to move, say the border's done, because it's already detecting air. Then it's going to move into the center. And again, okay, let's see how it can handle these turns, though. So it's going to move there, nothing. There it goes. Okay, that's good. That's what I want. But now it's going to... Ooh. Okay, good. Alright, so that is working. So it knows when it reaches a corner to check the other sides until it finds some land. But now it's stuck again because that one was a single block and there's no other adjacent block. So now it's kind of lost again because it's not going to check this spot. It's only going to check the 4 bordering spots. Oh, it found it. See, that's kind of lucky. That's not always going to happen though. Alright, so now it's done. And I actually haven't figured out the code to terminate it so it knows when it's done. I don't really know what I'll do about that. But that's been enough programming for this episode. Maybe I'll make a programming tutorial. What do you guys think? I know there's other programming tutorials on YouTube that I got some help from. But if you think you'd like to see a tutorial from me on programming turtles, then I would be glad to make one. So let me know. I mean, that would replace a couple Let's Play episodes for a couple days. I don't know how many episodes that would take, but if I uploaded one of those one day, I wouldn't be uploading a Let's Play episode. Unless I did like one long tutorial one day or something. yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that different type of episode. Maybe you'll want to see more of those, maybe not. That's kind of how it goes when I'm programming stuff. But that was the most advanced thing I've tried to program so far in Minecraft. Sometimes I can write a whole program and not have to do any testing and it'll work out the first time, but that's kind of rare. That's not interesting to watch, because then I'll just be like, hey, I wrote it, let's see if it works. Hey, it works. We're done. You know. Anyways, that's the end of this video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.